Welcome to Motorsport at the Movies. I'm Jake Sanson, and this week it's time to get retro, 70s style. One of the most highly anticipated sports movies of all time, Rush hit the big screen in 2013 to vast quantities of pomp and circumstance. But could 21st century Hollywood really do Formula One justice? The story focuses on the battle between two of F1's greatest icons, James Hunt and Niki Lauda, exploring how they evolved from battling Formula 3 racers in the early 1970s to take on and conquer the world as the heroes of the fastest circus on Earth. Two very different personalities and storylines intertwining beautifully. Authenticity being a key element of the film, the backstories of both drivers are told in intricate detail, with the relationships between the drivers and their wives being an integral part of the plot. And if you want to know how close they really got to reality, these are the actors, and these are the real James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Impressive, eh? James Hunt is portrayed by Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor in the Avengers, the dude with a big hammer, whilst his wife is played by Tron Legacy star Olivia Wilde, and just look how close they got to the real James and Susie Hunt. Spooky! Similarly, the role of Niki Lauda was entrusted to Daniel Brühl from Inglorious Thingies. I'm not using that word on this show. With Marlena Lauda played by Alexandra Maria Lara from the amazing Hitler biopic Downfall. You know, the movie that meme artists the world over have spoofed to high heaven. Brühl studied Niki to get the character right by visiting him, with Lauda telling him on arrival not to unpack because if he didn't like Brühl, he was sending him home. Wow, easy to get the feel for him then. Supporting stars include Pierfrancesco Vivoli as Ferrari driver Clay Regazzoni, the drop-dead gorgeous Natalie Dormer as one of James Hunt's many girlfriends, and even Stephen Mangan as McLaren team manager Alistair Caldwell, and Julian Rhind-Tutt as Hesketh's Bubbles Horsley. And remember the scene in New York? Well, we nearly got treated to Russell Crowe making a cameo as Richard Burton. Phew, that was a close one. There were a few exaggerations in the plot, like for example that James and Niki hated each other's guts. Well, actually, they didn't. In fact, they shared a flat during their Formula 3 days. Oh, and James Hunt never actually beat up that reporter. But it looked good in the film, didn't it? One thing we will say, though, is that being in the 1970s, it had to feel right as well as look right. And what a killer soundtrack, including Mud, Thin Lizzy, the Spencer Davis Group, and the late, great David Bowie. Mega. To put all these ingredients together, you need a great director. So step forward, Ron Howard, the man behind Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind. His attention to detail is just what makes his movies so spectacular, and adding him to a Formula One picture, the game stepped up a notch. Visually, the fans were hoping for less CGI and more real racing shots, and that's what Howard delivered. Fortunately, the CGI present is so good you can barely tell the difference between when it's real and when it's not, and that's what sells the movie to us race fans. Tick, VG. The purists have spotted some loopholes, of course, such as the fact that Brands Hatch appears to be playing the roles of Monza, Paul Ricard and Fiorano at various points, with Cadwell Park, Snetterton and Donington Park also adding their glorious surroundings to various F1 locations worldwide. And perhaps the failure to include the plot twists of the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch that year was a bit of a wasted opportunity. But once you look at everything else, we can forgive them. So let's give them a big fat 5 stars. To bring F1 to the big screen and hit a worldwide audience, you need to do it well. So the fact that it made $97 million on a budget of $38 makes it one of the biggest profit-making movies in motorsport history. Directors, writers and producers everywhere, take note. Because if you want to make a racing movie, if you do it like Rush, you're on to a winner. Well, that's my opinion, folks, but what did you think? Was it top-notch or a flop watch? Was I too harsh or too fair? Let me know your opinion with the comments box below. And of course, give me your suggestions as to which movies you'd like to see reviewed in the future. It could be one of these. I'm Jake Sanson for RaceWorldTV. See you next time.